Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really taking a look at how to unlock the power that's kind of hiding within your professional network. We've got a bunch of sources here, articles, transcripts, some notes, all pointing towards, well, smarter ways to connect and actually grow your business.
That's right. And the material you've gathered, it really zeroes in on two key concepts. Now, these often get used, interchangeably, but they're fundamentally different.
Okay.
Different in how they function and, importantly, the results they can deliver. Getting this distinction, it's pretty crucial.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. We're talking about contact spheres and power teams.
Exactly.
So our mission today, using these sources, is to really distill the essential differences, and reveal how understanding that can help you build more effective referral relationships and ultimately drive growth.
Absolutely. So let's start where many people naturally begin with contact spheres. The sources describe these as basically a group of business professionals who share a kind of natural, symbiotic relationship. They're incompatible professions, but crucially non-competitive ones.
Right, like the classic example from one article. The attorney, the banker, the financial planner, they often see the same clients, right? Just needing different things at different times. Or that other great example from a transcript.
Yeah.
The caterer, florist, photographer, travel agent.
Oh, yeah, the wedding mafia. That was a good one. And what's powerful there is that these are businesses where referrals can flow, relatively easily.
Yeah.
Because you're already dealing with clients who probably need the others in that sphere.
It's an intuitive connection. Sort of.
It really is.
And the sources seem to suggest that building these relationships is like one of the first steps in effective networking. Often the easiest way to start getting referrals because that compatibility is just so obvious.
Yes, exactly. And a really critical point the material makes is that contact spheres tend to function more by default, not intentionally by design.
What do you mean by default?
Well, you might join a networking group. You naturally kind of fall into a sphere with others. Maybe you sit at the same table often, and referrals happen just because you're visible, visible to people who eventually need what you offer.
So you're getting maybe frequent, but perhaps more reactive referrals.
Yeah.
Like someone mentions needing a lender and you immediately think, oh yeah, Sarah's great, and make the intro.
Precisely. The handoff is, pretty straightforward. And while conversations with people in your contact sphere are definitely valuable, you don't necessarily need constant, intensive meetings once that basic connection and initial trust are there.
Right.
You know what they do, they know what you do, and when a need pops up, boom, you make the referral.
Okay. And the sources also mentioned that people in your contact sphere can be good resources too, right? If you have a complex client situation touching on their expertise.
Yeah, potentially. You could go to them for insights, assuming you have that established relationship.
But there was a warning there, wasn't there?
Right, with the caveat, as one source cautioned, that you're not just trying to get free consulting to handle the client all by yourself. The trust within a sphere usually means sharing general knowledge is okay, especially if you're both contributing to the same networking environment, but you have to respect their time and expertise. You can't just exploit it.
Got it. Okay, so that's the contact sphere. A more natural group, often default, leading to reactive referrals, good resource layer. Makes sense.
Now, let's pivot. Let's talk about something requiring a much, much deeper level of intentionality and commitment. A power team.
Okay.
This concept, as defined in these sources, represents a totally different dynamic. It's typically a commitment between just 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 people max.
That's small. Why?
The small number is key because of the intensity of the collaboration required.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. It moves beyond just compatibility then.
Absolutely. A power team is a conscious decision and agreement to actively work on each other's behalf to generate specific business. It's not just waiting for a referral opportunity to, fall into your lap.
Right, because you can't realistically expect someone who's just in your general contact sphere, who might be super busy themselves, to take significant time out of their week to actively promote you.
Right.
Or strategize for your business.
Exactly. They'll refer when it's easy, when it's convenient, but they're not going to dedicate that proactive effort. That's not the deal, usually.
So based on the sources, what does this higher commitment level actually look like? What are they doing differently?
Well, it involves setting specific goals together, often quantifiable goals.
Right.
Like, okay, our goal this quarter is for me to get you, say, 5 qualified leads for this specific type of client, and you'll do the same for me. Achieving that requires meeting much more frequently than a sphere relationship would.
How often?
Often weekly. For strategic planning, for accountability, you need that regular check-in.
Okay, so it's not just hoping for referrals, it's deliberate strategy.
Yeah.
And holding each other's feet to the fire, basically, to generate actual results.
Precisely. You are actively plotting together. How can we help each other succeed this week, this month? One source shared a fantastic, really vivid example of this commitment.
Yeah.
Actually going on sales calls together.
Whoa. Going with someone from your network on a client call. That sounds like an incredible level of trust and integration.
It absolutely is. The story was about a countertop salesman working on a big home renovation, multiple bathrooms.
Okay.
He brought a plumber from his network with him to the client meeting. The plumber helped scope out the work, gave his bid right there on the spot.
Wow.
And the client ended up hiring both of them for the project right then and there.
That is. Yeah, that's a far cry from just passing along a name and number. Yeah. It's actively collaborating, like in front of the client to close business together.
Right. And that depth, it might also involve things like routinely looking at each other's upcoming schedules. Where can we find overlap? Where can we introduce each other? Maybe even pooling resources for joint marketing efforts. You're fully associating your professional reputations at that point.
Okay, wow. The distinction is becoming super clear now. Contact spheres. Broader, more natural, often reactive referrals, default interactions, power teams. Smaller, deliberate, specific goals, proactive collaboration, high accountability, deep trust.
That's a really solid summary. As one piece put it, contact spheres are more generalist in their referral flow. Power teams tend to be more specialist, laser-focused on generating a very specific type of business or reaching a particular target market together.
And another article made a point that you typically need to establish yourself within contact spheres first, right? Before you can realistically think about building a power team.
Yes, absolutely.
The sphere is like the ground floor. You need that foundation of visibility in those initial relationships first.
Yes, that initial visibility within a broader group is definitely key. But the sources really stress that moving from just being visible to becoming credible, that's the critical transition point. Before a power team is even possible.
Credible. How do they define that?
Well, one speaker used the VCP acronym, visibility, credibility, profitability.
VCT.
They emphasized you first need to earn the right just to be around someone consistently. That's visibility. Then you must demonstrate you're reliable, you're good at what you do. That's credibility. And only then can you truly talk about generating meaningful profitability through deep collaboration, like a power team.
So the really profound insight here isn't just that power teams are, a thing. It's that they are the result, the culmination of a disciplined process. Building trust, proving yourself over time.
Exactly. So many people want to jump straight to the profitability or that deep collaboration, but the sources are clear. You have to put in the work. You have to earn that credibility first.
And that takes time, presumably.
It does. Building that level of credibility, that deep trust required to, frankly, put your reputation on the line with someone. It takes time. One speaker suggested maybe a year as a potential benchmark.
A year?
Often aligning with, say, membership commitment cycles in networking groups, because you need that other purser to be committed for the long haul if you're going to invest that level of effort with them.
Okay, this brings up a really practical question that the sources touched on. How do you even start building those initial contact spheres? Especially if maybe you're the only person in your specific profession in a group.
Yeah.
That Survivor Island situation, one transcript called it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the material is pretty unambiguous here. You have to take ownership. Meaning nobody understands the potential for your contact sphere better than you do. You know which professions have clients that are a perfect fit for you, but aren't direct competitors.
So it's on me, the listener, to figure out those complementary professions. And then, crucially, identify the specific types of people I want invited into my networking environment to fill out those spheres.
Exactly. And then you have to educate the other members in your group. You need to teach them who you're looking for and maybe even how to talk to those potential contacts or how to introduce the idea of your group to them.
Like teaching, a tech consultant the right way to talk to a marketing professional about joining the group, even if that's totally outside their usual world.
Precisely that. You give them the language, the value proposition for that specific profession.
Okay. And you have to be strategic about it too, right?
Yeah.
The sources warned against trying to build like 5 different spheres all at once.
Definitely. Focus. Intentionally build 1 or 2 strong spheres at a time. Get them robust, get them consistently generating referrals, then maybe think about the next one.
And there was a risk mentioned too, something about cutting the pie too thin.
Yeah, that phrase came up. Having too many people who are essentially competing for the same slice of business, even with slightly different job titles, it just dilutes the potential referrals for everyone. It can actually destabilize the group.
What really stands out to me now is the accountability factor that seems to tie all this together.
Yeah, so?
Well, in a high-contact networking environment where you see people regularly, you can observe their commitment levels, right?
Yeah.
If someone isn't even consistently showing up, they're clearly not building visibility, let alone the credibility needed for a solid sphere relationship, or certainly a power team.
That's a great point. And this ties directly back to the significant risk of making bad referrals. Several sources really hammered this home.
Yeah, that sounded serious.
How damaging it can be to refer someone you barely know, someone who hasn't earned your trust, hasn't proven their credibility, or worse, someone who performs poorly. I think one source used some pretty blunt language calling them
A piece of trash, I think.
Yeah. Referring someone like that to one of your best clients, your reputation is absolutely on the line.
Big time. It's not just about losing that one transaction. It can destroy long-standing client relationships, damage your professional standing for a long time.
Which is exactly why that progression visibility first, then earned credibility, before you engage in those high-trust activities like deep collaboration or referring someone to your A-list clients. It's just non-negotiable, according to this material.
You earn the right to refer someone confidently. It's not automatic just because you're in the same room once a week.
Exactly. So while contact spheres are great, essential, really, for establishing that base of consistent, maybe reactive referrals and identifying potential collaborators, moving to a power team, that requires a conscious, earned, high-trust commitment. With clear goals, shared effort, ongoing accountability, it's a whole different level.
And interestingly, despite that intense internal focus within a power team, the sources suggested they don't necessarily isolate you from the larger group.
No, quite the opposite, actually.
Really? How?
Well, by collaborating so closely, power teams often uncover more complex client needs or bigger projects, things that require bringing in the expertise of other members of the group who aren't on that specific team.
Ah, so they end up generating more referrals for the whole chapter or group.
Potentially, yes. They can actually enhance the overall referral ecosystem by creating these larger, more complex opportunities that need more players.
That makes a lot of sense. So they kind of demonstrate the highest level of intentional, proactive collaboration possible within a network built on trust.
Well put, yes.
Okay. So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, the listener, as you think about your own networking?
Well, I think it means that strategic networking is, it's just much more than collecting business cards or showing up for coffee. It's about intentionally building different types of relationships for different purposes.
Right. Contact spheres give you that essential broad reach, that reactive referral flow. They function more by default, kind of like a base layer.
And power teams. They're for focused, proactive collaboration that can really drive significant business growth. And it's but they demand a much deeper commitment, ongoing work, and that earned trust we talked about.
You can probably be part of multiple contact spheres, right, across different areas of business.
Oh, absolutely. You might comfortably operate in, say, the real estate sphere and the financial services sphere. Makes perfect sense.
But power teams, because of that time commitment, the required depth, the accountability, they have to be small and exclusive by nature.
Exactly. Realistically, participating in weekly strategy meetings and joint sales calls for multiple power teams at the same time, that would be incredibly challenging, if not impossible, to do well.
Yeah, I could see that. This has been a really insightful deep dive, actually, really getting into the mechanics of building truly powerful referral relationships based on these sources.
It really has, and it just underscores that importance of intentionality, doesn't it?
Totally. Moving beyond just being present, just showing up, to actively designing the specific relationships that will get you the results you want, whether that's a consistent reactive flow or that targeted proactive growth.
Absolutely. So, to summarize the core difference one last time, contact spheres are your natural, broader groups, good for reactive referrals. Power teams are smaller, highly committed units, built by design, focused on proactive strategic collaboration and business generation.
And the key takeaway from all this material is really recognizing that difference. And then honestly evaluating your own network. Are your connections functioning as spheres or teams? And maybe more importantly, are you putting in the necessary work, the VCP work, for the level of collaboration and the results you say you want.
That's the crucial self-assessment.
And maybe as you evaluate your network, here's a final thought to chew on, something provocative maybe. Considering how much value you place on your own reputation, how intentional are you really being about the reputations of the people you proactively bring into your most valuable client relationships? Food for thought.